Welcome everyone to our second Innovation Forum. Thank you so much for being here. So I started in digital advertising completely randomly. I went to school to study finance, and I ended up getting a job at a company that was one of the first companies to integrate with Facebook's Ads API. And at the time, I knew nothing about digital advertising. And my onboarding was essentially being thrown at the deep end and see if I will swim. And I distinctly remember maybe a month into the job, I was talking to a game developer out of Germany. And I remember thinking, man, I barely understand what we do as a company. And I definitely did not understand what they did as a company. And at that moment, I just realized the only way through this is just to wing it. I had to be scrappy, learn on the fly, and learn how to swim. The company thought for me at the time was that everybody was winging it. 2011, Facebook advertising, everybody was just learning how to do this for the first time. At the time, the company's business was entirely focused on social advertising. So my job was promoting games that you would play with friends to grow crops, mahjong, poker, and so on. And it was so simple. The only two things we had to do was optimize keywords of apps that users were connected to and run a ton of creative experiments to see what do people click on and how do they install these apps. And that was my entire world for a year and a half. And I had so much fun running these creative experiments and seeing what obscure images drive conversions. And once the company got acquired, I went to work for one of the largest agency groups. And that's where I, for the first time, got exposed to the vast world of programmatic advertising. With all these complexities and opportunities. See, the way I sold myself at the interview, I told them I'm a digital advertising expert. When in reality, I was exposed to this tenfold level of complexity that I just realized it was way over my head. But with the right attitudes, 5 months later, I felt like I know enough to go out and try to build a new generation platform. And so myself, Ildar, and Yang, who you'll hear from shortly after, we decided to start building this company. And suddenly, my world expanded tenfold once again. I suddenly had to think not just about advertising, but also how do we create value for our customers? How do we grow them? How do we do so profitably so that we can pay our rent? And in this time, when you're a first-time entrepreneur and your back is up against the wall, I had to go back to the same principles of just winging it, being scrappy, learn on the fly. And I think that is a normal state of mind for any first-time entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship is part hard work, part luck. And lucky for us, we've made a lot of right decisions along the journey. We guessed it right that automation will become increasingly important as time went on. We understood that advertising is just means to an end of business growth. And our care and love for our product, we knew that that would attract thousands of customers. The thing that we didn't guess right was the direction in which the market will go. What we didn't anticipate is just how big the opportunity will become, and that the direction of the market will not go in the direction of consolidation, but in the direction of fragmentation and specialization. And between 2011, when I joined the industry, and today, the ecosystem has exploded with options. And the irony in all of this is that we've never had smarter technology, and marketers have never been more buried under all of this complexity. So let's time travel 10 years back to 2015. 2015 was the first full year of StackAdapt. And that was the year when Facebook and publishers were pivoting to video, if you remember. People were talking about ad blocking. People were talking about a potential of programmatic television. Between years 2015 and 2025, the market has grown 5x to now over $750 billion digital spend globally. But because of that rapid expansion and rapid fragmentation, friction got added across every stage of the interaction. So now, thousands of companies are touching every single campaign, and at every little step, a little bit more friction gets added along the way. To put it into perspective, in 2015, organizations believed that 32% of their data was inaccurate. Today, 64% of organizations still have data integrity as their key objective. Ironically, the evolution within our industry has always followed the same direction, that we're trying to solve the inefficiencies of era before us. One of the key challenges today is integration of technology. And I would say it's fair to say that every organization wants to see more automation within their business. Transformation is very hard, and that's why 95% of generative AI initiatives within companies fail, because there are no mature automation playbooks that exist that work universally well for everybody. So what I'll share today with you is a simple framework that we're trying to test at StackAdapt to see how we can separate areas within a business and processes that are ripe for automation versus areas that are fundamentally all about added intelligence. And the framework that we refer to is passport stamps versus visa approvals. The first one, passport stamps, comes from the idea that passport stamp uses the same amount of ink, same amount of effort to administer the passport stamp. And you can think within marketing teams, think activities like copying campaigns, checking pacing, or uploading creatives. A lot of these jobs require very consistent and predictable output, but oftentimes don't require a very high level of creativity or problem solving. And the visa approval process are the processes that fundamentally build around variable value activities. So not every activity within visa approvals is the same. So you can reflect on marketing jobs, such as related to overall strategy, understanding what audiences to target, understanding why certain campaigns are underperforming. These are fundamentally visa approvals. So fundamentally, we're trying to think of what are activities that resemble passport stamps within our company, and how can we direct more people in a direction of visa approvals. Interestingly, as we dug more deep and tried to understand what does the overall company landscape look like across these processes, we found that Pareto principle still holds pretty accurately here as well. And again, between different seniority of jobs or different functions, it might vary. But across the company, there's generally 20% of activities that generate 80% of output. So the question is, how do we empower marketing teams to shift more towards activities that carry disproportionate output in terms of value creation? So the opportunity of us, as we see it, is not really about using automation to replace jobs. We see it as an opportunity to direct people in a direction where they can create disproportionate amount of value and find ways to give leverage to shift more jobs in the direction of visa approvals than passport stamps. The shift of scaling operations within businesses from transactions to systems thinking will define in many ways the next decade. And when it comes to marketing, there are three forces that impact that change from media buying through to growth operating systems. The first one is first-party intelligence. We know that increasingly marketers want to understand their customer better, understand how they can drive better personalization. AI is finally at the scale where it can connect the dots across the organization, unlike anything that we've seen before. And lastly, we're seeing that the financial discipline and diligence around the investment is increasingly being scrutinized by CMOs, CFOs, and so on. So put this together, the job of a marketer is changing away from where do I buy ads towards how do I implement systems that drive compounding growth of our business. And this is where we believe this is all heading. From tools and fragmented point solutions that can take commands and execute on them, to integrated platforms that can give recommendations and learn. And the next leap is around cognitive systems that can understand your business and are capable of acting on that intelligence. So what would a growth operating system look like? And that's something I mentioned before. So let me elaborate a little bit more on this. So growth operating system, what we believe a platform like that would look like is, first and foremost, it would have to have all critical components of running a successful marketing campaign built in as part of this platform. Everything from management of first-party data, creative, measurement, all the distribution channels, all in one unified platform. And the second, it has to be intelligently connected across all these fragmented, all these systems in a platform that can plan, execute, learn, adapt continuously and intelligently. Such a platform would be incredibly valuable and would have a profound impact on overall business landscape. And it would force many organizations and many jobs to evolve. The way it's going to push brands is really in the direction of becoming almost like data companies, because their data will become the most important asset. Data and signals will ultimately fuel the autonomous growth that these platforms would enable. Agencies will move away from trading in the direction of implementation and management of these systems. It's not going to be about buying ads, it's about understanding how to implement systems for continuous and autonomous growth. And platforms will move from switchboard to growth operating systems. It's going to be less about facilitating transactions and more about intelligent orchestration to drive outcomes. Everything we talked about today, whether it's automation, leverage, or intelligence, none of it matters unless we reflect on how does it change our jobs at work tomorrow. So I wanted to share 4 practical ways in which marketers can start thinking in the direction of where we believe market is moving. First, I believe we have to reflect on how individual channels connect into one unified strategy, and one insights from one channel can be adopted across all other channels. We should challenge ourselves to think about not just metrics, but set up hypotheses to try to understand why certain things have happened, and then use these insights for continuous learning and continuous optimization. Think about what jobs are passport stamps versus visa approvals. Not only it will direct your efforts around automation, but also it will help you with mental prioritization about what actually matters and drives your business. And lastly, whether you're an agency or a brand, it is the beginning of an opportunity to start thinking about how do you stop outsourcing critical aspects of your growth to vendors and start thinking about how do you build intelligence internally that you own with the right partners for growth. On that note, I want to say thank you all for being here today. And I would love to welcome our next guest. So the guest today is Adam Savage, and if you know anything about him, he's a true legend. He's a maker, an innovator, and if you're anything like me and still watch random episodes of Mythbusters every week, I think you'll find his presentation a delight. Thank you so much. All right, Adam, thanks so much. When I asked you, do you want to see the questions before? You said no, which immediately removes one of the questions of how you operate from my list, which is awesome, by the way. And maybe I'll start with just asking, at StackAdapt, one of our key philosophies is failure is not an option, which is interesting because the way we think about it is you can fail many times along the way, but you can not fail in achieving a mission, which is different, which is Mythbusters saying is failure is always an option. So I was like, we have to compare our notes here.
It's a joke, but it's based on something serious. One is that we understood very early on that the way most people think of experiments is wrong. Because we grow up on Bugs Bunny, where a mad scientist says, my experiment was a failure. And almost no scientist or engineer ever says that, because even if your experiment yielded crappy data, you now know how to do that. So every experiment yields some information that is useful to you. So for us, it meant that there was no answer that was fundamentally wrong. But at the same time, I agree with you. Failure, you need to separate failure from the development process to the mission-critical delivery process. And, for us on Mythbusters, it was very much, we engendered an atmosphere of iteration and no blame. Right? We weren't interested in blaming. If something went wrong, it doesn't matter how it happened. We're just going to reconvene and Monday morning quarterback it and figure out how not to do it again. Failure is... Our favorite moment was the 3rd rocket car episode. We'd gone back to Discovery and we're like, hey, we think we can do rocket car again, but this time it's going to cost $100,000. And they were like, okay. And then you could buy 2 kinds of rockets. You could buy the $7,000 rockets, which were untested, or you could buy the rockets from a batch that had been tested, but they were $15,000. And we bought 3 of the $7,000 rockets, and they blew up on the stand. And there was no second try. This was the end of the episode. And Jamie and I had a conversation that turned out to be a reasonable way to end the episode. And that, to me, was like the level of professionalism and narrative we knew how to bring to a thing like that at the very end. Because my producer, Dan, was like looking at the rushes, and he was like, this is going to suck. This is going to suck. And then it happened, and it was like, oh, actually, that's not so bad.
Channels or YouTube videos, you talk about the style that you and Jamie had, that, you know, if you were given an hour, Jamie would essentially spend 51 minutes doing the math, planning everything perfectly, and then building in the last 9 minutes. You would build something 5 times, and the last 5th attempt would actually work.
Yeah.
So how does, as you think about working through problems, how do you balance maybe these 2 approaches as part of the team?
That's a great question, because you're always going to have people on your team that execute in radically different ways, and that can cause weird conflicts. Because Jamie constantly thought I was being an idiot, and I thought the same of him. Like, why are you wasting all this time? But at a certain point, about the same point, we realized that we weren't each other's enemy and that the network wasn't going to gin up our emotions about it. We realized that the stakes were pretty low. Like, this was a good team. We were both good at what we did. If I left him to his own devices, he'd get it done by the end of the day. Same with me. So how high are the stakes really when I think he's being dumb about this? So pretty early on, we developed a procedure where if one of us really cared about something, we'd say, I'd like you to lay back on this one. And we were like, absolutely. And that allowed us to allow me to stretch my wings, him to stretch his wings when he wanted to bite his teeth into something. But a lot of times we would just straight up collaborate all the way through. But having the knowledge of how we worked was really important. And again, I didn't think the way he worked was very efficient, but I understood its efficiency, right? It didn't work for me, but I respected it.
Yeah, and I think when you let the other person follow with their approach, and if it does not work, like how to make sure that you're not essentially then next time you're like, well, last time this approach didn't work, right? That level of sort of self-awareness is very important in a team environment. What attitudes do you think will increase chances of success in general?
I love that question. Obviously, a collaborative. I view axiomatic that a collaborative atmosphere is always going to yield more interesting results than an atmosphere of individual people working alone. And so one of my biggest pieces of advice for young people is to cultivate being easy to work with. I cannot stress how after 40 years of being in the working world, how important that skill is. And being easy to work with is really about being able to check your ego when you're wrong. That's most of it. It's about realizing when you're wrong that the thing to get is curious. When you're wrong, that's really important information. And if you're curious about it, it's going to make you better. It's going to make your team better. If you're not curious about it and you'd rather not have been wrong, you're in the wrong place. Like, I'm wrong all the time, and I don't like being wrong. It's not fun being wrong, but I recognize it as vital for me to admit it the second that it happens. That's going to make my team work better. That's going to make me work better. As a manager, I know my team takes all sorts of subtle hints from me. And I had to come to terms with the fact that while I don't get angry at my team, I literally, like, nothing they do pisses me off. I get really pissed off about things in the world, and that is an intense thing to be around when your boss is super upset. And I've had to come to terms with, like, I got to get out of the room when that's happening. I can't that's not cool to subject them to that, because my anger has a real grit to it. And it's not like it's sticky. It's not like I'm going to go find someone and yell at them, but just being in the room is not cool. So to me, it's about collaboration. It's about checking your ego. It's about being curious when you're wrong.
And lucky.
And yeah, listen, luck is always 90% of success is showing up, which is totally 100% the literal truth. And the rest, and showing up means you're ready for when the luck arrives.
Awesome. Yeah. Adam, thanks so much.
Vitaly, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
I had a blast talking to you, so thank you. And would love to welcome you again one day.
Absolutely. Let's do it again.
Thank you. And on this note, we're going to welcome Krisha, who is our Vice President of Product Marketing, and we're going to dive into all the innovation coming out of StackAdapt. So let's welcome Krisha, and let's keep going.
I'm Krisha Nair, and I'm the VP of Product Marketing here at StackAdapt. Every day, we speak with agencies and brands just like yourselves who are dealing with more data, more channels, and higher expectations than ever before. And you're still being asked for the same answer. What worked? The hardest part isn't actually launching campaigns. It's connecting the dots between them. Let me take a moment to show you what I mean. This is the shift that we're talking about today. From disconnected pieces to a connected system that adapts, orchestrates, and is built for outcomes. To show you exactly what we're unveiling today, I'd like to invite Yang Han to the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Krisha. Hello, everyone. My name is Yang Han. I'm the co-founder and CTO at StackAdapt. Today, we're going to start off by talking about the two most critical ingredients in a powerful marketing campaign: AI and personalization. Today, the technology is more powerful than ever. It's ready to go, yet the reality is many marketers have not been able to effectively utilize it yet. So at StackAdapt, our goal is to make it as seamless as possible for you to enable AI and personalization into your workflow so that you can be differentiated in today's competitive environment. Even though AI can impact the entire customer journey, it all starts with the creative where ideas turn into reality. That's why we're starting off with our first product announcement with Creative Builder enhanced by Ivy. This is a substantial upgrade to the previous generation Creative Builder with 50 new creative templates being introduced. These include animations, carousels, disclaimers, and brand new formats such as testimonials and countdowns. These are proven strategies built through years of development by our in-house creative studio team. We've also added live previews so that you can see exactly how they appear on a publisher webpage. It doesn't stop there. The Creative Builder is now deeply integrated with Ivy, our marketing agent. And with a prompt, you can instantly build images with AI within your creative templates. Furthermore, if you have existing creative assets, you can also use Ivy to make enhancements with a library of proven techniques that we're offering. And these include special effects like adding motion. Other examples include background modifications, resizing, and other popular adjustments as well. In reality, in today's world, it's very rare for an end consumer to be influenced and impacted by just a single channel or a single campaign. It's the multitude of touch points that drives outcomes across different channels from top to bottom funnel. So it's critical in order to optimize and drive performance that you can connect the dots and all these events holistically. So earlier this year, we made the first pivotal step to solving this problem when we introduced our integrated marketing suite onto the StackAdapt platform. This consists of us releasing email marketing, our first-party data hub, cross-channel orchestration, and dynamic creative optimization. So for the very first time, marketers can execute advertising and marketing all under one roof. They can bring in first-party data and events in a compliant and secure fashion for AI to be able to personalize and drive outcomes across channels without conflicts in measurement. The interest and adoption we have received has been phenomenal. With this announcement, we are also excited to share new functionality that is available. So several new data hub integrations have been added, such as HubSpot, Braze, and CallRail. Agencies can reuse their marketing domain across multiple advertisers to send emails in a much more flexible manner. And within orchestration, we introduce the conversion events trigger. This allows a consumer's web engagement to automatically trigger the next action or impression. We also introduced a new percentage split feature, allowing marketers to easily A/B test different types of strategies. Finally, our DCO suite has added additional verticals so that any type of brand can now drive hyper-personalization. Marketing works best when it comes together as one.
You build emails in one tool, run ads in another, and your first-party data is stuck in between instead of powering them both. When your tools and data are disconnected, so is your growth. StackAdapt changes that, bringing your programmatic ads, email, first-party data, and analytics together in one platform. The Data Hub turns your first-party data into impact, so you can target smarter and measure everything from first impression to conversion. Launch email and programmatic campaigns side by side. With orchestration, every touch point hits at the right time. And dynamic creative optimization turns one ad into thousands, with AI delivering the top performer to each user automatically. Less juggling, smarter connections, faster growth. One platform, StackAdapt.
And that's not all. We have even more launches coming very soon. So by popular demand, we will be bringing programmatic campaign triggers into orchestration as well. And this allows marketers to use programmatic events such as impressions, clicks, video completions, conversions to trigger the next action within advertising, marketing, or data segmentation. So for example, after someone has engaged with a programmatic display ad, you can follow up and show them a video on their connected TV. And if this user is part of your data hub, you can also send them a personalized email with a personalized message. Let's look at a quick demo here. So in this example, we are selecting a CTV campaign in which users complete at least 75% of the video at least 3 times. And if they have visited the customer's website, they're going to be placed into a new display campaign that will move them further down the marketing funnel to try to get them to complete a purchase. So we're be sequential targeting and programmatic re-engagement strategies across different channels. With orchestration, you can ensure you are deeply connected with your consumer throughout their entire journey. Programmatic campaign triggers will be entering open beta towards the end of the year, and StackAdapt is going to be the only platform that enables automation from programmatic to marketing campaigns in a single unified workflow. We have a lot more innovation to announce. We'll be bringing up Michael Sheng, who will reveal the next generation of performance-driven solutions. Thank you very much.
Well, hello, everybody. Super excited to see you all here, and very grateful for you to spend the time with us. My name's Michael Sheng. I'm the SVP of Advertising Technologies at StackAdapt. We've seen how execution and creative come together and how those pieces connect across channels. Now let's focus on the last 2 pieces of this premiere, performance and measurement. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about running campaigns. This is about proving outcomes. Let's start with performance in motion. We've shipped great features and workflow improvements because they lead to faster testing, faster learnings, better results. Performance is both scale and efficiency. To drive performance, you need reach, and you need to be wherever your audience is. Yan just talked about introducing more reach via marketing channels, and I want to focus on channels in programmatic, starting with DOOH. Digital out-of-home is one of the fastest growing programmatic channels, and with the new DOOH enhancements now available on the StackAdapt platform, we're making it smarter, more transparent, and easier to scale than ever. And here is how it comes to life. Most DOOH tools are either narrow point solutions or bolt-ons. Ours is DOOH by design, a first-class channel inside the platform. You get map-based planning, geo-radius targeting, screen-level precision, a dedicated marketplace, and high-impact proposal workflow, all in one place. fully cross-channel with targeting, retargeting, measurement, all in one place. With over 1.5 million unique screens across 160 media owners, we've upgraded our marketplace to best represent our wide reach of screens across the world. We know high-impact locations drive outsized attention, but sourcing is incredibly complex. Now, it's natively available. You can request and manage spectaculars directly in the StackAdapt platform. Forecast at the venue or media owner level with intuitive controls. Build and optimize DOH campaigns next to the rest of your media. No silos. And DOH runs in the physical world. Your reporting should reflect that. You get map-based delivery and venue details, media owner and screen level summaries. We have a lot of amazing features around DOH. Highly encourage you to check it out. Today, you saw the system in motion. AI and personalization. Cross-channel orchestration between MarTech and AdTech. DOOH by design. You're seeing the shift from disconnected pieces to a connected system built for outcomes. And we're building one platform, one view. This is Marketing Connected. Thank you very much.
All right, how is everyone doing? Super excited to be here. So I'm Anna Grodecka-Grat, or AGG for short, SVP of Global Client Services here at StackAdapt. Super excited to have some of our most strategic partners and customers with us. What we're going to do is actually take some of the products, announcements, and premieres that you've seen from Michael and from Yang and from Vitaly and from Krisha, and talk about how are our customers and real marketers thinking about solving real challenges and thinking about how to drive performance and grow your brands and grow your agencies as well. Most of us are probably in the 2026 annual planning cycle right now and thinking about what are the technology investments, what are some of the different channel investments do you want to do in 2026. What's top of mind for you? And especially, we've heard a ton about AI, multi-channel activations, and then proving the value of running media. How are you thinking about it? What are the trends you're seeing? So Eddie, we'll start with you.
I mean, AI is a fun word. People are talking about it a lot, but ultimately I think it's like a means to an end. And so for me, what's really top of mind is being able to define what that end is. Because I think if you just try to use it for everything, it's not necessarily going to help you or serve you. And so being able to understand exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and then finding the right technologies to help you do that. So that's a big focus for me as I plan 2026. Another point that was talked about a lot that hits hard is that decentralization of data, fragmented data. It feels as though even though the technology is getting better and better, it's getting harder and harder to get that single view of what's going on. And so finding ways to address that, improve a lot of our 1P data, own the data that's out there, own some of our data, that's a big focus for me next year.
For us, I work very, very closely with nonprofit organizations and political parties. And so for me, it's very important to understand the motivations behind our audience. So what does it take to get someone to take an action? Why do people volunteer? Why do they donate? Why do they spend their time with particular organizations? And trying to understand the impact that our digital advertising programs have at different steps along the way is top of mind going into 2026. And then on top of that, we're also broadening to different platforms. So like Eddie had mentioned, understanding how all of these touch points connect and getting a unified view is really, really what is top of mind for 2026.
On the next side, for us, like AI has been a big initiative for us across not just like our site, our paid ads, but utilization internally about how we find processes to make like more streamlined, easier, and scalable. So that's been a big focus for this year. As an omni-channel brand that has brick and mortar stores, plus like wholesale partnerships, plus like direct-to-consumer e-commerce. Obviously, like how our commercial leaders come together and look at our initiatives and activations across the entire board and how everything works together has been like a big part of our planning for this year. And then further to that too, it's like measuring everything together, like, you know, algos change, you know, operating systems change, all of a sudden your tracking drops. So for us, it's like measurement, confidence in our measurement and our data to help make like best data-driven decision making when it comes to performance, but budget decisions and the implications of that. So obviously that's like the largest foundation as part of our strategy for this year, or for next year, sorry.
I think you all touched on this a little bit, but for me, top of mind, AI is definitely top of mind, both from a external standpoint, but also from an internal standpoint. So in the platforms themselves, we're seeing that AI is really shifting how we go about targeting, how we go about the approach to creative rotation. But then on the internal side as well, where it's changing our workflows, it's changing automation, the way that we adapt to productivity as a team. But I think the area that is still a bit complex for us is on the performance side, and that's where measurement does come in. So the platforms are becoming more black boxed, and it is becoming harder to understand where that impact is and where we're finding that insight. So being able to leverage tools like what StackAdapt has been building with the Data Hub, and also our own, you know, custom tools that connect both, you know, MTA, MMM, incrementality testing models is something that we're continuing to approach in 2026 planning.
You know, not only digital out of home, but we talk a ton about AI and about personalization. And while it is supposed to make us more efficient and effective at our jobs, it's actually not that easy to implement it and scale it efficiently within your workflows, within your team, within some of the campaign execution that you do. So just curious about how you're thinking about it.
Yeah. AI and personalization, it is a bit of a debate right now, I will say. You have some people that, like many people in this room right now, that are really excited by AI and personalization. From a brand, you're able to pick an audience that you know is your target and be able to show them exactly what message you think they're going to want to receive. And then on the consumer side, as we've talked about, sometimes decision fatigue is real, and being able to be shown a message that's very personal to my needs and my behaviors is really refreshing. But on the flip side of that, we also have brands that we work with that are a bit hesitant to test AI and personalization. They think that, you know, their audience is going to say, oh, well, it's kind of weird that you know my name and you know my job title and you know everything about me in this ad right here. So it's finding that balance between testing it, but not testing every single aspect of it at the same time, and pulling it back to the performance side of it. So the way that I see it is scale AI and personalization when you have the results to back it up. And now that we have that measurement to be able to see those results and be able to see those combinations, we're able to do that. So yeah, scale it in increments the same way as we would A/B test. And if you're seeing the results, then continue pushing it. And we're definitely testing it on our side.
Yeah, it is the importance of not trying to do everything at once before you can see the results or the incrementality of it. Anyone wants to add anything on the AI and personalization?
Yeah, I could add a couple things. I mean, from the view of personalization, like similar to what Natalie was saying, there are things that AI can do really well in that space, and then there are some other ways that I'm not quite ready to let go of the reins. And I think that being able to incorporate guardrails, particularly on the creative side, to be able to leverage a lot of the automation that AI can provide, but within the confines of creative we're comfortable with, that we know is brand appropriate. And so, you know, the thought of just being able to work with like modular components and bringing those things together based on the individual that's going to be seeing things, I think is really interesting. And then I think in that, from another perspective, it's this idea of operationally, how can the slide that showed how 20% of your time is 80% of your value, like how can we spend more time in that 20%? I think that we do a lot today that is no fun, that is not adding value, that is important but really time consuming. And my personal bias is that that's where AI can really change things for us, especially now, especially in 2026.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much again for being here and for your partnership. And please give a round of applause for our
Thanks
panelists.
for having us.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. And super excited to be here with Vitaly and Krisha and do some live Q&A here. So thanks everybody for watching. Please do stick around at the end. We're going to redirect you to the full experience. You'll be able to see all the sessions and be able to share that with your team as well. So with that, I'd love to just kick off a couple questions. Maybe Krisha, I'll start with you first. What was maybe a moment that didn't get aired, maybe a favorite moment from that day that you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ryan. I think my favorite moment was probably watching all the reactions in the room when we revealed some of our new AI capabilities. You could really see, people connecting the dots about what this means for their business. It was almost like a spark of opportunity. And, on our side, it's so easy to get caught up in the details when you're planning an event like this. But in that moment, you really get reminded as to why we build what we build. So seeing those ideas click and watching people imagine how they could bring them to life in their campaigns is really the best part for me.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I see some questions coming in, so please do put some questions in the Q&A feature there. And Vitaly, let's go to you. What was maybe a favorite moment for you?
All right, thanks everybody for joining. Yeah, it was fun to rewatch it. We recorded obviously not today, but it was fun to look back just a couple of weeks back and see how it all played out. I think because the event itself was actually like 4 hours long, so condensing it into a 45-minute recording is a bit of a challenge. And then we'll obviously share all the sessions, so definitely check them out at your own time. I think for me, I'm just a huge fan of everything that's coming out of our R&D team. So anything that's Yang or Michael talking about, things like digital at home, content around measurements, creative, the AI and our MCP server. Like, these topics are just so fascinating, and the rabbit hole goes so deep, just really hard to cover that in a short stint. But I would say those topics are the most I really, if I could direct you to go watch, at least a couple of sessions, anything related to product, I'm a big endorser of that.
Awesome. Yeah. We're getting some questions around Ivy, our AI assistant, and actually asking about, does it connect with other models? And actually that was a question we were actually just talking about, being a common thing. Vitaly, what are your thoughts on that in terms of StackAdapt's Ivy connecting in with other AIs and ChatGPT?
Yeah, I think the exact approach of balancing sort of chat-based or voice-based AI interface with the more traditional software approach of user experience, I think that's a topic that every company is still evolving. The way we approach it is we want to give more freedom around how you want to interact with StackAdapt. So obviously you can interact with Ivy within StackAdapt, and we're working on a ton of capabilities to continue giving it more and more superpowers within the platform. Obviously, you can go in a very traditional software experience just by clicking on buttons and pulling up reports and whatnot. Or now with an MCP server, you can go to something like Claude, and you can interact with StackAdapt through an LLM interface of your choice. I think the approach here is really around giving flexibility of specific workflows or capabilities that you want to tap into. But I think it's, longer term, it's probably going to be meeting somewhere in the middle, because not everything you can unlock through chat or through voice. Sometimes it's just easier to see things with your own eyes, or just navigate with your mouse and click on something. So striking that balance between those two, I think we're still in that process of evolution for sure.
Definitely. We're getting a lot of questions in the chat here.
Let's
jump in. Amy asked a question. She said, so we have many disconnected tools for marketing, support, and Data Hub. We use Salesforce for customer Data Hub and Salesforce Marketing Cloud for email, Sprout Social, etc., directly into social platforms for paid social. Basically saying collecting unified data is nearly impossible, as you can imagine. Does a platform like StackAdapt replace these other platforms or work in connection with them as an additional tool? Maybe I'll open that up.
Yeah, I can try to take a stab at this one. So it's and I lost this question now. 1 second. Where was it?
Yeah, just in terms of connecting other systems and.
Yeah, I was gonna, because it's a fairly long question. Okay, so from what I remember, yeah, the idea as of right now, like we're not really approaching it from a perspective of replacement. The truth is that something like Salesforce has tremendous capabilities and flexibility around both a true CRM capability as well as consolidation of data across many different sources. What we're specifically focusing on right now is activation of data. We understand that so much of most valuable data currently sits within CRMs and not being actioned on, and there's a ton of opportunity to learn from it. So we want to remove the friction from having the data within CRMs to actioning on this data. I think that in some cases, you could argue that it maybe makes sense to consolidate with something more lightweight, like what StackAdapt has, but it really depends on a use case. And I think it's like it really has to be evaluated on a industry by industry, brand by brand, depending on the complexity of the business. But right now we're focusing mainly on intelligent activation of data.
Awesome. Yeah. Maybe Krisha, I'll go over to you maybe on a question. So there's some questions on Creative Builder. Just some thoughts here on, will you be implementing any creative guardrails to help ensure the branding remains consistent? Any thoughts, I guess, from Krisha Vitaly on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we think a lot about. We always want to move fast to make sure we're leading in the industry, but not so fast that we lose sight of things like ethics and accuracy, user trust. And so every product that we launch goes through a lot of performance testing and reviews to ensure that we're thinking through all those pieces. So making sure that what we're developing is helping our marketers be able to scale through things like Creative Builder, DCO, but also be able to be transparent and genuinely really useful for our marketers.
Yeah,
I think creative in general can go off the rails pretty quickly with AI. Yeah. Anybody who's used AI tools for creative know it can derail pretty quickly. So it's super critical to have a human in the loop at this stage. So that's why even the generative AI tools that we have on the platform that help create assets, that we don't modify assets outside of the actual experience of building the creative. So nothing, like, we're not using AI to spin up images behind the scenes or anything like that, because that's where a lot of not great things can happen. So we want to empower the people to create assets at scale in a personalized fashion, but have an ability to audit them in a way that would satisfy the brand requirements for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's a fascinating time to be a marketer right now with the ability to create with AI. We create TV commercials quite a bit, and so we go to production teams and film for multiple days, and you can now do a lot of that through AI. And what that does is it opens up our budget to be able to go distribute that video or that content in bolder, more impactful ways on StackAdapt on the platform itself. And so I think it opens up a lot of opportunity for brands of all sizes, agencies of all sizes, to be able to get your message and your brand out there in more powerful ways. So it's an exciting time to be a marketer. Let's talk a little bit about orchestration. So talking about orchestration flows, will orchestration flows blend different tactics in the future? So for example, like email, display, CTV, thoughts on that? Maybe I'll go to Krisha. May go first, if you like.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the things that I really noticed this year is how much marketers are craving connection. And that was a really big theme that we talked about today, marketing connected, and not just your tools and your channels, but how it all fits together. And so with our ability to now have MarTech and AdTech, things like email and direct mail, marketers can connect their programmatic and own channels so they can really see and design their customer experiences, which is really, really unique. So I'm really excited about that for our customers to be able to design those customer experiences and be able to actually say, hey, if a customer abandons a shopping checkout, they can go and we can go tease them with a programmatic ad. If they don't respond in 14 days, we can go and send them an email with an offer. So really being able to own those experiences, I think, is really, really exciting.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Why don't we jump in a couple of technical questions, and then we can maybe wrap with some more bigger picture questions. How does that sound?
Let's do it. Yeah. Want to jump in? Which one looks good to you, Vitaly? Here on.
We can do, for example, we can go bottoms up. So could you expand more on the Data Hub integration with HubSpot?
Let's do it.
How would I expand on this? You can push HubSpot data into StackAdapt. For example, one of the use cases you could have is you can have a dynamic list of customers or prospects that you're constantly filling. For example, if you build a list on HubSpot that says these are the people that we've interacted with for the past 30 days, for example, add them to a programmatic campaign and deliver them an ad. You can dynamically sync that data into StackAdapt. So continuously adding, for example, as your sales team is working prospects, maybe they enter some specific stage of the sales funnel, they can be automatically passed to StackAdapt for additional targeting in a kind of account-based marketing environment. So there's probably a bunch of different use cases we can cover. So if you want to do a deeper dive, feel free to reach out one of our account managers, and we can just look at specific industry and specific use cases. And there might be just more relevant answer that I can give here.
Absolutely, yeah. We have a great partnership with HubSpot, and so exciting about all the innovation happening there. This is kind of a fun, very transparent, honest question. Let's just go. We're a pretty genuine company. I think that we hopefully you see that in all the things we do. But this is what do you feel is the biggest hole at StackAdapt that you're hoping to fix in evaluating DSPs? I find that partnership and openness is what actually is valuable. Curious your take. So I don't know, maybe Krisha, what are your thoughts? Maybe on the spot.
Yeah, I would say, going back to that connection piece, I think it's really hard for marketers to be able to connect their data and see it in one view. And StackAdapt is really trying to bring together measurement in one view for our clients. So for example, you probably saw today cross-channel attribution. So being able to see your data across all of your different channels outside of StackAdapt, and then also layer on StackAdapt to see how it influences your impact across your different channels, I think is really unique because, as a marketer myself, I'm trying to navigate so many different channels to see that full picture. And so with StackAdapt, we're really trying to bring that together. So through the actual marketing orchestration and then also through the data, I think it's a really nice blend of pulling the whole customer journey together.
Awesome.
I will give maybe a complimentary answer. I think one way to ask is, or like the way I ask myself is it easy to build a business today? Do businesses generally find it very easy to scale? And I think probably the answer is universally no. I think it's very hard to grow a business. And so we as a company challenge ourselves of being a software partner to accelerate business growth. So in that sense, looking at us from specifically, lens of a DSP, I think it's fairly limited in what DSP implies as a piece of technology. I think if a DSP in my mind is a transactionary tool that's built to essentially connect marketers to a bunch of point solutions, whether that inventory or data or any other solution. The way we want to think of ourselves as a platform that enables business growth, some of that can happen by virtue of distribution capabilities, for example, within programmatic. Some of that could be distribution within through other channels, like, for example, email marketing or any other channels. But it can be also done through other strategies. For example, unlocking insights about the business, which historically has lived very lived within the brand, and then they usually come to, for example, a media owner and they say like, "Oh, target this audience for me," and they do it. How can we become a platform that helps our customers become a lot more intelligent around how do they understand their business, and how do they take strategies that scale to accelerate its growth. And all of that trickles down into a very tactical set of capabilities that we actually end up going and building. So I would say, going back to the original question, is like what hole we're planning to solve as a DSP. We're trying to build a platform that can predictably accelerate growth of any business, and some of it will be done through programmatic capabilities, and a lot of it will be not.
Yeah, that kind of feeds into maybe another question. Is we have take maybe 2-3 minutes. We'll wrap up before the hour here. So maybe a question around how do we decide our products that we release each year? Just curious on maybe just giving some transparency into that. Krisha, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so we really try and focus on what's the biggest impact for our marketers. So thinking about how they're building campaigns today, how can we make them more effective? How can we make their workflows simpler, whether it's through AI or through automation, and how to make their results just easier to measure. And so we also actually have a customer advisory board that we lean on quite heavily, that really helps share insights on what's working across their industries, across agencies and brands. So it's really a mix of what we hear from our customers, what we see in the data, when we go and we do our reviews and reports and see, what the trends are we're seeing in our data. But then honestly, a lot of curiosity. Our team is always asking, what's next? What's next in advertising? What's next in marketing? So we try to build what's useful today, but also what's going to be useful in the future years to come.
Awesome.
No, nothing to add here. I think you nailed it.
I think let's wrap up on, thank you, Krisha. I think we should wrap up on what's one key takeaway from this forum that you'd maybe want the audience to hear. And Vitaly, if you'd like to maybe share, Krisha, and then I'll maybe share thoughts to close us off.
I would say the key takeaway, I hope that everybody, is that there's so much opportunity. The market is changing so fast, in such a rapid way, and there's so many new ways to create value internally or for your partners. So whether you're sitting in a marketing team within a brand, or you're an agency or some other parties, I think it's like one of the best times to create value, and we're just building like crazy to empower more people to help them accelerate creation of that value.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll just kind of build on that, just totally echoing +1 to what Vitaly shared. I would say, in addition to that, we really would love to be partners with our customers along their growth. One of the things that we really pride ourselves in is how close we spend, how closely we are connected with our customers, and how we're so tied to their growth, wanting to make sure that they're successful. So we love to be, partners navigating that journey as they're kind of exploring how to explore AI and building that and implementing it into their day-to-day workflows too.
Awesome. And if we haven't answered some of your questions, we'll try to get back to you on some of those and make sure that we get all the questions answered. But to wrap us up, I do want to thank everybody for joining today. 2026, make it your year. As marketers, StackAdapt, we use StackAdapt in our own marketing, and we're seeing incredible results. And it's fun to see, as a B2B company, that we can go beyond the traditional channels and walled gardens to get fun, get bold, and just get after it. And so I just encourage each of you to do the same. I know it's not easy. I know that budgets can be tighter, expectations can be higher. And so we want to partner with you to make sure that we're driving the conversions and the outcomes that really, really matter. Because in the day, this is a fun industry, so let's have fun doing it. And let's get our data right. Let's get our measurement right. And as we start to build those foundations, I think we can really start to all scale together. So I wish you all a very, very great day. Stick around. You're going to be rerouted to the full experience. So please share that with your teams, and would love to hear feedback from you. So everybody have a great day. Take care.
Thank you all.
So much.